Welcome back to the Splitting Hairs podcast presented by Jackrabbit Illustrated. Victory Sunday here today. I'm joined by Chad, Garage Time, and then Tanner Castora, our friend from Kelland. This may be our first three-time guest on the show. I'm not sure. Him and Matt Zimmer have been made frequent appearances. So
I'm honored.
Yeah, there we go. Man, yesterday was special, but before we dig into it, we do need to thank our sponsors, Drake's Place and Cottonwood Coffee. Now, I swung by Cottonwood yesterday just because it was chilly out. I was early to tailgating. I knew I needed something to keep me warm while I set up our spot, and the Cottonwood dark roast that I got hit the spot. It was perfect. It was great being in the bistro. It's one of my favorite spots to stop. Didn't take time for breakfast, but it was still pretty good just to be there and drink their coffee. If you don't live in Brookings, or even if you do, you can subscribe or you can order your coffee online from them. And if you live in one of the Minnesota locations, you can pick it up right in Walmart. So that's kind of cool. Or live near a Walmart that has their coffee. Oofta, tongue twister there. But if you order it online, use our code JI22 to take 10% off your order. So kind of fun there. JI22. Chad, you want to talk about Drake's for us?
Sure. If you guys have ever made it up to Bowdle, easy for me to say, the best place to get food is Drake's Place, bar none. It's one of the only options, but that doesn't make it any less good. Really selling it there, Ryan. Ryan Drake, he comes over to our tailgate, brings us food. It's always just fantastic. And that stuff that he's preparing right there at tailgating, the stuff he prepares at his kitchen's even better. They got a full C-store. You can get your beer there. You can get filled up on gas. I know that Brendan's going to be stopping by there this week, I believe, on his way to Bismarck. So he'll have a full report on what he had and how great it was.
Terrific. All right.
Sorry, I messed up the read,
no,
Matt.
You know what? No, it's okay. It's okay. Did you not hear how I butchered Cottonwoods there? So we love our sponsors. Thank you very much for believing in us and supporting us and supporting the Jackrabbits. Really appreciate it. So Tanner, how the heck are you? You finally get to take in a SDSU USD football game outdoors in Dana J. Deco Stadium. What were your initial impressions, man?
Well, coming into the week, you hear about the rivalry. And one thing that actually caught me by surprise is the all-time record, a lot closer between the two schools than I thought. Obviously, look at South Dakota State. They become a powerhouse in the FCS, but the overall records coming into this game, they were only separated by 3 games. They played over 100 times. So that caught me, that was interesting. But I'll tell you, this is a real rivalry. The two schools do not like each other. That is real, and that came to the forefront this week. I really heard a lot of the two sides, and that was very real. But, man, I mean, you guys, if you were there, you watched it on TV, I tell you, you couldn't have asked for a better day. I mean, it was beautiful outside. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, 60 degrees at kickoff, and the place was packed. I had been to the North Dakota State game last year, and that atmosphere was I'd say a 9 out of 10. That was the best game that I have ever seen in person here in South Dakota. That game yesterday at the Dyke House was everything you can ask for in a college football game. Atmosphere, 10 out of 10.
And I'd like to add that tailgating was also a 10 out of 10. Yeah. That's the best tailgating atmosphere we've had, I think, ever. We get a good turnout for Hobo Day every year, but that was beyond that. I mean, people were there early. They were set up. They're ready to go. The other thing I'd just like to add to Tanner's comments, being in the stadium and in the thick of it, I don't get to take it all in quite the same. I'm focusing on the game and what's going on, but I was watching the highlights, and after every time something happened good, it was almost like a soundtrack in the background. The crowd was super into it, super loud, cheering their butts off, and kudos to everybody that showed up. This isn't the only game you have to show up to every year. We could usually that at them all, and that'd be great. But I get it. There's things that happen. So thanks for coming out, those that did.
Yeah. No, I agree, Chad. At 10 o'clock when I wandered from the backyard over to the library lot, I was blown away by how many tailgating tents were set up in the paved parking lots. All of the grass space was covered with tents. People out chucking the football, some delicious smells coming off the grills and smokers that were there. And then got over the library lot, and you guys have just created such a cool atmosphere over there. Kudos to you, the hair raisers, the Jackie Lance, all the guys that have been over there for quite a while, setting up and tailgating. I know I'm excluding some people. Don't mean to not name you, but you guys have done something really awesome over there, and just created it really organically. And that's kind of what's starting to pop up in the paved lots too. So kudos to you all.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Chad.
I was just going to mention one other thing, a little bit of a positive shout out, since we're kind of hammering on game day operations every once in a while. I made the suggestion that they move the ID station over by the alumni tent, and they made that this week. And I had a half a dozen people that tailgate just down from us like, hey, they moved that. That's a great idea. And I was like, yeah, we kind of suggested that. So thanks, Jeff Holm and crew. We appreciate that. Definitely. Go ahead, Tanner. Sorry.
Another thing I wanted to mention that I have really begun to appreciate more and more and more as the times I go to the games. The Jacks band is elite. They are fantastic. And you cannot get that at home. And I will say, I don't get to watch their halftime performance. I wish I did. I have to edit video and get it back to the station. But throughout the entire game, they are rocking, man. They bring the juice. They are fantastic. And they don't get enough love for what they do. They add so much to the game day feel, and I think they should be recognized.
Yeah, Kevin Kessler's their director, and he does an excellent job. I think they have 400 or close to 400 members this year.
Just under,
because they're going out to the Macy's Day Parade. So it's always a big deal, and they're excellent. You know, they bring a lot of juice, like you said.
Hey, while I'm thinking about it, Tanner, you just were talking about video and stuff, and made me think of recent articles you've done. Kudos to you on your Randy K video, or your article there, telling his story, because that's one of my favorite stories from recruiting. And I just think, man, the maturity of that young man. And I shook his hand at halftime when he came out and just said, hey, I really enjoyed that piece you did with Tanner. Thanks for being here. And he had a huge smile on his face like he does, and said, oh, no, it was fun talking to Tanner and telling about my path. So
that's thank you for doing that. Yeah, I was told about Randy's story by a couple people at South Dakota State who I made sure I thanked yesterday when I saw them, because they told me about him. And I started this new thing. I don't know if everyone's seen it. I just call it Fifth Down. And it's basically just a light way to just show a little bit of more of who these kids are, kind of get into their background of who they are as people, because I've been so impressed with the kids in the program, and I can't do a feature story on every one of them. So I wanted to find a way to get as many people involved as I could. And this is my way of doing it. It's called Fifth Down. I have it out pretty much every week. And Randy was one of the first kids that I interviewed for it. And I'm talking to him, and I'm like, man, there's just so much to this kid's life. Like this is someone who is worth doing a big feature story on. And I sat down with him, and we probably talked for a half hour. And I sincerely mean this. That kid inspired me. Hearing what he has gone through in his life as a teenager, I cannot fathom coming to a new country. He moved from Cameroon to the United States at the age of 14 by himself. He had his brother, didn't end up living with him because he just got engaged, but he lived by himself, and he spoke no English. The kid spoke no English, and he just day by day figured it out. And he didn't pick up football till his junior year of high school. And we can get into his athletics, and he's becoming a good player. He will be. But what a standout guy. What a stand-up character guy. And that is why this program is where they're at, because they get kids like that in these blue and yellow jerseys, and they're good dudes. And Randy Camonde is, if you guys haven't seen it yet, not for my sake, for his own sake, give it a watch, because that kid is a heck of a young man.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, 100%. I'm really glad you found that story, did that story, just so everyone can know it. So
thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Tanner.
All right, let's get into this game, fellas. Let's get into this USD recap here. We talked about tailgating and all that leading up to it. I was, that first play, that Jackrabbits run offense, the deep shot. It was there. Allegedly, the wide receiver and cornerback's feet got tangled, and there was no pass interference called, which everyone was mad about the first quarter offensive production. But if that play connects, or at least draws that 15-yard penalty, I think we have a different feeling there. But after that, the offense really got rolling, moved the ball well on the ground. The quick hitting passes to Tyler Feldkamp were a big part of the offense yesterday. That was exciting. The screens, and then that Isaiah Davis run that was just like Frisco. Isaiah showed everything in his arsenal there. Pretty special player, special run. Easy to get excited about that. What are some things that stood out to you guys?
Go ahead, Tanner.
Well, I'll start with that first deep shot. I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought I loved it. I mean, it's almost like they sensed the juice and the electricity in the stadium, and they want to come out with the bang. And I'm watching the game. I have to video the game with the camera, so I can't watch exactly how I want to. That's why I always go back and watch the games through the TV broadcast. But I watched the play happen, and you see Jaden fall down, and then I watched the replay on the board in the stadium, and he definitely was interfered with early. Now, you could call it accidental, but in my book, that's still a flag. I mean, he ran into him, and they got tangled up. Okay, he made contact illegally. That should have been a flag. But it was a close call, so we'll let that one slide. But I'll tell you what, though. Now, we'll get into the whole game. But, man.
I know where this is going,
It looked like for a second there that the Yotes were going to apply some pressure. I mean, it was 3-0. They're knocking on the doorstep. That defense has been stellar. What an
Lights
unbelievable play by Reeder. That, to me, that interception in the end zone changed the whole complexion of the game.
Yeah, it was like 100% momentum swing at that point. And then from that point on, it was – I mean, I realized our offense didn't really get rolling quite that point, but yeah, it changed the whole complexion of the game.
Yeah, but that USD – that play by USD, though, that play call was so predictable. Like it, if you've watched any of their games, that's one of the things they like to do. That's really popular right now in football is that rub route where they're trying to pick the safety whoever the D-back that's coming all the way across the formation. Reeder gave a huge shout out in his post game, I think, to Malik Lofton for flattening out the receiver and not allowing him to get picked. But man, what an athletic play by Reeder there. And I thought that I agree. A huge play, poor play call in my opinion from USD, but SDSU just executed at really high level here. I want to talk about this one with Darren really quick. Darren, I've had the same thought. When we have these drives stall out, it's often a first down penalty that does it, right? We get behind the sticks right away. The Amar Johnson personal foul penalty, in my opinion, I was able to see it. It happened in the middle of the field. I was standing on the north goal line most of the game, and it happened middle of the field, about the 30-yard line. Amar was blocking, and the refs never blew the whistle dead. He was way in front of the play, driving his man down the field. And the guy toppled, and Amar went flying over him. To me, that penalty's on the refs for not blowing the whistle when the play was dead. I mean, how is he supposed to know that the play is done? I don't know. I'd have to go back and actually see it from the end zone angle, and I'm sure we will at some point. But it to me was a pretty weak penalty. I don't think there was anything super malicious about it, and what I caught right away. So
I didn't get to see it either.
In fact, I didn't even see it. Like I was like, there was a penalty? What the heck went on there?
Yeah.
So
it was 30 yards downfield. Amar was blocking him. So
hey guys, play through the whistle. That's all.
Right.
That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on Cale Reeder now that we brought him up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, and we'll talk about the defense obviously as we get into the podcast. There's a lot of really good players in the defense, and he just seems to fly under the radar. That kid is always in the right position. He's clearly a good athlete. And then he is not afraid to be physical. I mean, he was popping some kids yesterday. I've seen him throughout his career be a sound tackler, and he's showing it. He is not afraid to play in the box. When you got a safety like that who shows ball skills to make that interception, then can go up and tackle at the line. I mean, he's just one of 10, 12 examples throughout this defense where there's kids that are dynamic athletes that they can use in different ways throughout this defense.
Yeah. One story I love about Cale Reeder is he was focused on football pretty heavily in high school, and I think maybe wrestled his freshman year. In order to stay in shape, he went out for wrestling his senior year and nearly made the state tournament. And so in Illinois, so that's a pretty cool thing about him is just it shows his toughness to be a wrestler and just how good of an athlete he is too, to pick something up that he took a pretty significant break from. I'm not exactly sure the years, but yeah. Where is it? I want to bring it up. This is our friend Ron Lowney, Montana State fan, I believe, right, Ron? So the USD defense on the field, it was on the field for a long time. It ended up being like 34 minutes or so. I think the Jacks possessed the ball, maybe 32. And this is what we said last week when we previewed them. Very good starting talent. It's the depth that's the question right now. And if you give Isaiah Davis and Amar Johnson 30 carries behind that big offensive line, they are going to wear down as the game goes along. Like USD, again, I think they have good top-end talent. They just have to continue to build depth. And yesterday, their offense just didn't do them any favors either at that point. So
I'd like to touch on USD.
Yeah.
Let's look at this. Let's compare FCS and FBS real quick. Basically, what they've played, if you're an FBS team, you started with Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State, the top three teams.
Yeah.
They played NDSU, South Dakota State, and Montana, and then also Kansas State, who's ranked in the top 20 in the FBS. They've had an incredible schedule. I mean, they truly have. And when you play such good opponents week in and week out to start your season, it's hard to build any confidence, right? So they're just not who they could be at this point. And they hung in the game for a little bit yesterday, but I wouldn't count them out, as bleak as it looks right now, as a playoff team down the road.
Yeah, because that FBS loss gets dropped. Like, doesn't matter.
Right.
That's erased. So, yep.
Yeah, if they win out, they could still make the playoffs easily with that.
Yes.
That schedule and being a Missouri Valley team. They're 7-4, right? So.
Yep. All right, let's get to this elephant in the room here.
I was wondering if we were going to pull that one up.
All right.
Ron Lowney says the Jacks need to improve on special teams kick coverage. If they do what they did before halftime, either Montana team will take it to the end zone on them. So go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with our special teams this year. Hunter Dustman's a terrific punter. Our punt coverage has been terrific for most of the year. Obviously, Dallas Beanham down on the ball at the 1.5 yard line yesterday. Terrific. He had 3 huge plays in yesterday's game. But our kick coverage hasn't been the same this year, in my opinion. And our field goal unit is just in shambles right now.
There's something really off ever since the Missouri State game because Hunter's got the leg, but it's just, again, it seems slow to develop. And I don't know if we changed back to the other holder or what's going on there, but we got to try something different. That's my opinion. We got to try something different because what's going on right now is not working well.
Was that field goal blocked, the 52-yarder?
It was blocked again. Yep.
Okay.
So, and I'm not sure where it came from, if it was the right side again or right up the middle or what, or left side, right? Left side.
I think it was right side if you're looking.
Right side. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
they always overload
your
our
vantage
right
point.
side. They always overload our right side, I think. Yeah.
Yep. So, this one, let's.
Sorry, Matt.
Yeah, that's okay. No, Corey's right. Corey Caraway says USD's O-line was way overrated. Guys are big, but could not slow the chain gang. Yeah, they're good run blockers, but they did not pass that well. So, yeah. Mitch Farjan, Mark is still late and high on his passes over the middle. I'd agree. Mitch, yesterday he threw some heaters in there on some of those. So it'll be interesting.
I once had a coach that said anything that hits you in your hands, you should catch, though. So,
Mitch was a lineman. Mitch was a lineman. So.
Well, I was too.
Yeah.
I think Mark has been he's made a lot of great throws. You see a
Mhm.
throw and go, wow, that's a really good throw. And then he'll miss one. He has been a little inconsistent. But again, overall, I think he's been good. But as they move on, he'll have to clean that up. But I think you can also look at it as, okay, they're as good as they're playing right now. There are things they can work on, and that's almost something that's healthy in a sense.
Yeah, and we got to keep in mind. I mean, the kid's young. Like
Yes.
this would be a redshirt freshman year if he took a red shirt, but
Mhm.
you know, he got hurt and sat out. I think that was good for his development overall, probably, but you know, it's not the same as playing.
Yeah. All right. We have a couple questions right away here with Seth Meyer and Jim Poppin talking about the defensive line and how impressive they are. Absolutely, you guys. This chain gang is so dang good, and they're about to get better because Brian Williams is coming back, and you know he was the third D tackle in the game against Iowa. Played a really good game. Was injured though, and so it'll be interesting to see how many snaps he's going to be able to give the team. If you recall, he's the player from Valdosta State that was the D2 All-American, built like a brick shit house or whatever I like to say. And so I really like him. I talked to him a little bit yesterday too, and he said he could have played yesterday. So he wanted me to know that. But he's excited to get back on the field next week. So I don't know. I just love this rotation. Stig continually talks about it. But man, it just even yesterday, like they were so quick, even against USD's when USD kept trying to no huddle, speed up the game a little bit. They were still able to get those units changed. So Coach Smith has them ready to sub. I'm not sure what their calls are, but he's doing a heck of a job getting guys in and out. And then Randy wasn't dressed yesterday either, and so he's probably our fourth or fifth D end. So it'll be nice when he's healthy again as well, because he's a real threat on the pass rush. So,
and the overall health of the team's coming up right at the right time too. So that should definitely help.
You know, when you look at this team, to me, I can't describe it any better than there's just something of an edge. They just almost seem like they have this positive anger focus about them, and it all starts with that defensive front four. They set the tone every single game. They make it almost impossible for any passing attack to get anything going.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. The guys are so disruptive. And this was interesting. I was at practice this last week. I asked 4 different guys. I said, who do you think is the best athlete on the defensive side of the ball? When I asked these guys, I'll leave them their names out, but I said, you can't say yourself. So I said, give me 4. I asked each guy, I said, who do you think is the best athlete on this defensive side of the ball? And all 4 of them, they thought about it and said, I have to go with Caleb Sanders. I said, really?
Really?
Yes. I said, really? And they just talked about what a beast this dude is in the weight room, how he can bend his body, how quick he is in boxes. And man, you can see it on the field, and his attitude, he's just a workhorse, man. Him and Reese Winkleman have been unbelievable. Those guys and that whole group deserves all the praise that they're getting, because they have shown up from the very first snap this season.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome about Caleb Sanders. I wouldn't.
That's what they said.
Yeah, he has gotten, like, talking about like personal growth. That's a player that didn't say a word when he got on campus. that didn't talked at all. And now, when he's on the Coach Stig show and at Difference Makers, the guy's just hamming it up the whole time. Just hilarious stuff. So
awesome.
The Colonel. Yes, Chris. Yes. So, thank you, Allison, for the updates, on Reese a few weeks ago. We appreciate that. Yeah. Hopefully Reese figures out what he's going to do with his life right after the season. So,
What's the backstory to that?
Do you get to see how much of a character the D-line guys are in practice? Because the Stig show and the Difference Makers, that's where that comes from. Is he's getting pressure to figure his life out after college.
Yeah.
Reese is actually one of my favorite guys in the team. He always says hi to me. He's just a fun guy, and he's not. I'll just say this: he's not 100% healthy, and you can't tell. That dude is playing his butt off, and he's fun to watch.
Best athlete from Marshall High School.
Oh, dang. Oofda.
Maybe.
Still playing football.
Maybe.
Oh, there you go. There you
Man.
go.
Aaron Tucker, he's still showing up on the draft boards for the guys. Mel Kiper still has him as like the 6th best tight end, even though he hasn't played. Matt Miller still has him ranked very highly. Dane Brugler does. So I'd be shocked if he comes back. I think he'd have to just completely have a bad last few games that he plays here, but I just don't see it. He's too talented. So
I wouldn't say it's impossible. I'd tell you that.
Yep. So yeah, Corey, Mark Gronowski is just a winner. Yes.
Yep.
Agreed.
And have you got a chance to talk to their family at all, Tanner? Do you get
The
do you get out to
Gronowskis?
the Gronowskis?
You know what's funny? I literally met the whole family yesterday.
Awesome people.
I'd like to do a story. Yeah, they are. I'd like to do a story on Mark and his older brother, which is super cool. He won a gold medal in the Special Olympics this past summer, and I've gotten to know Mark pretty well. And I asked if I could have his father's number to contact him. Text his dad. I said, "Yeah, come over to the tailgate, talk to him and the fam for about 15 minutes." They're so cool. And I'm excited to sit down and get to know them. So yeah, it's funny you ask. I met them on Saturday.
Yeah, they're so cool. Deb brought us some beer to start the.
It was good.
Wow.
Thank you, Deb.
It was
if you're listening tonight, thank you.
That's awesome.
And helped us with the pronunciation of the town from where Olivet Nazarene is from, but I'm not going to slaughter it.
Oh, come on, try it, Chad. If she told you how to say it, you got to say it.
I heard her telling the other guys, and I didn't really catch it. But it sounds something like Marquette on the end or something. I don't know.
You know, I want to say with Mark too, I was very intrigued to see how he'd use his legs this year. He's done a nice job. He's staying in the pocket. He's always got his eyes downfield, and they're calling runs for him. I mean, they're letting him pick up some yards. He had a big 3rd down pickup. I want to say it was 3rd quarter, 3rd and 3 little option, kept it himself, picked up the 1st down. I think he's done a very nice job with his legs.
Yeah, I agreed. Yes.
Yeah, that's how it's. There you go. That's how you said the last thing. Thanks,
Bourbonnais.
Bourbonnais.
Bourbonnais, okay.
Yeah, Ryan was there this week. He was rocking the bibs too. So
yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Yeah, those are pretty awesome. Them bibs are beaut.
All right, fellas. Anything else about the game that we need to talk about? Anything you want to bring up?
Well, I wanted to just, you mentioned it, Isaiah Davis's run and the way he's running the ball, he's tapped into something a little extra. I mean, the way his feet are moving, he's not thinking out there. He's just reacting. And then you see the strength in that run. He absorbed a safety running full speed at him, and he knocked a safety back. So that's a kid who is, you know, you can kind of see when someone's starting to get into a rhythm. And let's not forget the offensive line. They've been superb. I mean, those guys are doing their job. So I think the offense right now, I'd say the defense is the strength of the team, which is a surprise. We didn't think that coming into the season, but the offense is rock solid, and they're starting to establish themselves as a running team. Yeah, they've got all these weapons. Yeah, they can throw the ball, threw for over 300 yards against Missouri State. They can win that way too, but they're starting to establish themselves as a darn good running football team.
And I wrote that in Rants and Raves today that this offensive line is starting to gel. And, you know, Garrett and Mason took a few weeks, but they're playing the All-American caliber that we're expecting. Gus is doing just fine. We had the one bad snap or the one miscommunication with him and Mark this week. And then that right side is really coming together. John O'Brien at right tackle, I had no idea what to expect from him as a guy that, you know, didn't play football last fall, stepped away from his previous Bowling Green before the season even started and put his name in the transfer portal. You know, that to me, I was really a wild card. And then he gets here and, you know, talked to Coach Olson this summer and said, man, he's really versatile. He's going to compete for a starting spot. He's played guard and tackle for us and really seems to have settled in pretty nicely at right tackle. So really, really happy with how him
Evan Bernstein
right
too.
And Evan Bernstein. Yep. Thank you. Are playing right now. Yeah. Yes. So we're okay. And we're about to get some depth back. You know, Bo Donald's going to be back here soon. Ethan Vibert might have been dressed this week. I wasn't.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So that's exciting. Having those two back as depth pieces for sure. So, yeah, excellent. All right, game balls. Let's talk about that here quick. Game balls. Okay, we have a new sponsor, you guys. Game balls presented by Dakota Iron in Sioux Falls. And so this is an exciting sponsorship for us. Dakota Iron sells big, heavy equipment that can be used for construction sites as well as on farms and feedlots and things like that. And I met John, the owner of Dakota Iron, a couple of years ago at Tailgate. Didn't realize it until I was rocking my Jackrabbit Illustrated hat this Saturday. And he comes up to me and says, "Hey, Jackrabbit Illustrated, I'm a new sponsor for Jackrabbit Illustrated." And I said, "John, we've been emailing back and forth. I'm Matt. Nice to meet you." And and we talked about what he does and stuff and who he's sold equipment to. And it's pretty awesome. The folks that have done the dirt work on many of SDSU's big projects the last few years, whether it's the Precision Ag building or the stadium itself, bought equipment from Dakota Iron. So I thought that was pretty awesome. Pretty good connection there to South Dakota State and to the businesses and to his business. So thank you, John and Dakota Iron, for your support. Really appreciate it. And with that, we're into game balls now. So offense, I went with Isaiah Davis. To me, it had to be on offense. 3 touchdowns, 108 yards in that 44-yard explosion, 47-yard explosion, whatever it was. Phenomenal effort by him. What do you guys? Anything different?
Well, I think that's the easy one, so I'm going to go a different way, but still a little bit of a cop-out because I'm going with the position group. And the 605 Hogs are the engine that makes the car run down the road, so give it to them.
Before I answer real quick, do we get a defensive game ball too?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Offensive, and we usually do special teams.
Perfect. Okay. My offensive game ball, I'm going with Jackson Yonke. That kid now 2 straight weeks has had a touchdown. He brings just a little bit of tenacity on that edge that I like. He's a physical guy. And if you watch both the Yankees, those kids smoke dudes off the line. I mean, they are such good route runners. And there's he easily could have had 2 touchdowns. There's a pass interference called in the second half where Gronowski probably put on the money, and he had this guy beat. He had to drag him down. 15-yard pass interference. Jackson Yonke, man, that dude's a problem. So I'll give him as my game ball. He's been a stud on the perimeter.
And Tanner, that play in the second half, when he smoked the D-back, that's why I think the first one was intentional too.
There you go. That's a good point. Very good point.
And I'd like to point out how good they are on the run blocks. I mean, those dudes seriously block their butts off. So kudos to them for that.
Good question.
All right. Defense. I'll let you go first, Chad, this time.
I guess I got to give it to the dude that got the interception in the end zone. You know, that, like we said, changed the tone of the game. So, man, kudos.
Cale Reeder.
Cale Reeder. Yeah, sorry, I didn't say his name, did I? My bad. Sorry, Cale. Yeah, Cale Reeder, excellent interception. Changed the tone of the whole game. You get my game ball.
How about you, Tanner?
So a lot of guys, and I got to go with Adam Bach. I mean, he is, there's a lot of players on this defense that I would say are really good players. There might be a couple, but he's borderline getting to great. I mean, that dude is so instinctual the way he plays. I had to play one time, I kept the camera on him because I know the ball's going around him. I mean, he's going to be involved in the play. And what a leader, too. You talk to him after the game, got his head on straight, cares about all the guys on the team, and you can tell really does not care about all the praise and accolades he's going to get because they're on a mission. And he had 2 sacks again. He's so good on pass rush, but then the reason he doesn't come off the field is because he can play in the pass game as well. He's a mobile guy. He's so physical, and he, just like the defensive line, is getting hit or making hit almost every play. So you have to be durable, and he is. I thought he played fantastic, and he gets my game ball.
It's funny you mentioned his speed and stuff. Jimmy 2 years in a row has told me he's the fastest guy on the team, and so I think. But every coach, I think we said that when we did our defensive preview. Everyone says their guy's the fastest. So
well, did you see him when he was chasing down Camp? And Camp thought he wasn't going to catch him, and then he had that explosiveness and got him there before he got out of bounds and tackled his ass. So, you know, he's got that explosiveness, much like the other guy that Scott Russ points out, Freeman. I mean, Freeman's got that closing speed, that explosiveness. Both him and Bach, that's what makes them so dangerous, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So good. It's their secret sauce.
Yeah. I said this to our text group, but one of the things I was really looking forward to yesterday was seeing the first time Jason Freeman met Travis Tyson in the hole, and that happened pretty early on. And man, that was a hell of a collision. Travis Tyson's a good player. I really do mean that. Yeah. He's a really good player.
Coach Stig even said the same thing too. He says, I don't want to take away, that kid's really good.
Yeah. Kurt. Goodness. Much like Slow Show at a new microbrewery. Yep. Sideline to sideline speed there. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
right.
You know, got to try them all, Kurt.
Yeah. All right. Special teams. I went with Dallas Beanham. The blocked field goal.
Matt, did you give your game ball on defense?
Oh, I gave my game ball to the entire defense. Phenomenal performance.
Okay. Now that's a total
Coach Rogers.
No,
that kind of is.
That's a total cop out, not just the position group.
I've said this so many weeks in a row. I could give this game ball to Adam Bach every single week, and we've given it to Jason Freeman a bunch. You know, I thought
so. Pick Malik for the pick or the flattening block that set up.
Sure, right?
Guy, you know,
no, I'm going the entire defense. What was it? 136 yards the entire game. I mean, that takes a collective team effort to do that to a team.
Before we get to special teams, I'd like to highlight a couple guys and quickly on the defense.
Sure.
I've been very impressed with Dayton McGoy. That kid is really good. He, as you guys know, converted from safety to linebacker. He can really play. Graham Spalding, a very good linebacker. The cornerbacks have been really good. Dyshawn Gales, maybe I didn't watch enough of him last year. That dude can play. He can tackle. Not the biggest guy, but man, can he tackle. And Malik Lofton had several nice plays again Saturday. So there's guys that they're just gelling. They just play so well as a unit. There's really no weakness across the board.
Yep. I think Malik and Dyshawn have really come into their own at the cornerbacks position. They're playing exceptionally better than last year, in my opinion.
Totally.
They're really looking sharp.
And credit to those two for this happens a lot if you listen to the show, but credit to those two for proving me wrong. I thought they both had hit their ceiling, you know, and they have taken it a step further this year and been very, very, very good.
Yes,
so kudos to those two. Thanks for proving me wrong. I'm happy to be wrong in this instance. So special teams, game ball, I went with Dallas Beanham. The downed punt at the 1.5 yard line, the blocked field goal, he was the one that tipped it. 2 huge impact plays on special teams. And on a day when the rest wasn't that great, he rose to the top pretty easily, in my opinion.
And for that reason, I'll give the exact same person the game ball. That's who I had in mind too.
All right.
I'll go with Hunter Dustman for me. He does
sure.
You know, did a great job punting again. And, you know, he missed the one kick that got blocked, but, you know, I think it'd be cool to talk to him about it, to hear what it's like. He has 2 different jobs in a sense. So, you know, I think he does a nice job with what he's asked to do.
Yeah. And here, I haven't even looked at his stat line yet. 3 punts, 135 yards for a 45-yard average, long of 51. So that tells you his average is pretty tight to that. And then 3 inside the 20. So that's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
You know, if that's what your punter does every week, you'd be pretty satisfied with that. So good one. All right. Time to move on. It is now officially Dakota Marker Week. Woo!
Sir.
So, I don't know. As fans, we could always look ahead and talk about this. But the players had to focus and going 1-0 every week. So I'm darn excited. So let's run through some NDSU fun facts right now. Their offense this year, we'll just focus on offense for now. 36.5 points per game, 6 yards per carry rushing, 139.2 yards per game passing. Cam Miller did just have a huge game passing this week. We'll get into that in a bit. 52% on third down. They've only allowed 5 sacks, and they control the ball for 32 minutes a game. Some players to know. They have Cam Miller. We've talked about Cam Miller for 2 seasons now. This is his 3rd year as the starter. and they've been bringing in another quarterback called Cole Payton from the Omaha area, who is a true dual threat. Really, really can run the ball. And he actually has 126 yards rushing on the season. So watch out for Cole Payton to come into the game as just something different. Their offensive line is massive. Their center was in a walking boot this week against Indiana State, Jalen Sundell. So that's something to watch. As usual, running back by committee. Jalen Bussey has been out since the USD game. Kobe Johnson didn't play this last week. And so that made some room for some more carries for Tamarick Williams. And he's averaging 9 yards per carry right now on the season. He's the SMU transfer. It was really big down the stretch for him last year. And he's a load. He's a tough player. Obviously, Hunter Lupke, he's their fullback, but also plays halfback, 6.6 yards per carry, 8 touchdowns, terrific wide receiver. And then their third running back probably at this point is Dom Ganella. He's the baseball player that is also in the Arizona Diamondbacks farm system. Kind of cool. 7.1 yards per carry, but he's had 3 fumbles in recent weeks and only got 5 carries against Indiana State. Kind of found himself in the doghouse after his last fumble that was lost. So I don't know how much of him we'll see. It may just be a Tamarick Williams and Hunter Lupke show. We'll see. Kobe Johnson and Jalen Bussey, though, are their 2 most explosive running backs. Big thing is Noah Gindorf was lost from their tight end core. He's a terrific pass catcher, terrific run blocker. Obviously, Christian Watson graduated, but Zach Mathis has really stepped up. Big, framey wide receiver. Looks like Christian Watson out there. He's 6'4", 6'5", has 11 receptions, 213 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Had a terrific game against Indiana State. So we know what the Bison offense is, fellas. What do you want to point out? What do you want to highlight and talk about these guys?
Well, I think we're going to see a whole lot of Hunter Lupke. I think they're going to try and force the issue with him. And if we can stop him, it's going to really slow down their offense. So I like the chain gang versus Hunter Lupke, but they like to run to the outside some more. So our guys are going to have to step up. Our linebackers are going to have to make those tackles behind the line and try and get those negative yards.
For an idea of how good of a running team they are, they average 266 yards per game, number 1 in the Missouri Valley. In second, behind them, Youngstown State, only 180. As good as the Jacks have been on the ground, they're at 165. So that's not just how good they are at running the ball, but how much they run the ball. That is who they are through and through. And if you're South Dakota State, what more could you ask for? Your best unit is your front 4. Their best unit, their best way of beating you is running the ball. So talk about physicality. This will be as physical of a game as you will ever see in the FCS.
Yeah. And I think that's why a lot of us, Tanner, are worried about UND the following week. Oh, we got a train coming through. Sorry, guys. I'm going to sit out for a while.
I'm an engineer. I drive trains.
But while Matt deals with his train, I actually didn't think of that's a good point about UND the next week. And if I'm not mistaken, that's on the road as well.
Yes,
it is. Yeah,
trip back up there.
Interesting. Okay.
So, I mean, that's been a thing. I believe personally the NDSU hangover is a real thing where teams play them tough. They get up, they play them, they get beat up. You know, it's such a physical game. The week after, it's always a slow start, it seems to be for folks. So we don't have to worry about that for now. Let's just worry about NDSU. But
I'll say this. NDSU has usually had an easy game before us. And we're the ones that have beat them consistently. Nobody else has. And Indiana State took them 4 quarters. So I like that. I don't feel like the game with the Coyotes was overly physical in the last half of the game. So I think our guys come in pretty fresh. I do like that. That being said, I know you want to move on, but UND is a total trap game if we beat the Bison.
Yep. One thing that does concern me about their offense is Braylon Henderson and DJ Hart. Braylon Henderson in particular has world-class speed. He's a track athlete. And as good as Malik and Deshaun have been, I don't think they have that long speed that maybe Henderson would have. Same with Jalen Boosie if he does get to play. Again, I don't know. He might be out for the season. I don't know. These are two very fast players, and I just don't know if we have that speed on the back end of our defense all the time. So the hard play action, if the safeties bite up, that could be one of those shot plays that have we've struggled with this season a little bit. So we'll have to see on that for sure.
Be cool too with Mark, who is going back to Fargo. He has played in Fargo, and he played well in Fargo. He actually won that game as a true freshman up in the Dome. So he's going back to a place where he's got a good memory. It'll be really fun to see if this NDSU secondary can match up with the weapons of South Dakota State, because there is no team in the FCS, if they can't, that can. Because, I just, as I've said before, South Dakota State has the kind of athletes that can play in the Big Ten. And probably the only other team who can match that is NDSU. And I'm very curious to see. Of course, they're going to try and run the ball and establish that with Isaiah, but how will those matchups happen on the outside with the Yankees, maybe with Feldkamp, get Cole down the field, even Hines through the middle? And we'll see. I don't think Tucker Kraft will be back, but we'll see. But how will they be able to match up with the athletes on the perimeter of South Dakota State?
Yeah, so on the defensive side of the ball, I think I like their secondary quite a bit. They have three good cornerbacks, in my opinion. Courtney Eubanks is just a terrific corner. He was on my all-MVFC preseason team. That doesn't count for anything, but I did one. Dustin Talbert, it feels like, has been there for 17,000 years. He's a smaller cornerback, but, man, he makes plays. And then Jaden Price is their punt returner, third corner. Just a really terrific athlete. So I'm really interested to see. Eubanks did get beat in that USD game on a post by Wesley Illador really easily and made him look really silly on that play. And so I'm really interested to see that matchup as well, Tanner, because when I saw that happen, I went back and rewatched it. He looked slow.
Got cooked.
He just got cooked. And so we'll see on that. What I'm interested in, and what for years and years and years has set the Bison apart, is that heavy rotation along the defensive line that they could run in. And they've had a number of injuries. Their All-American Eli Mostart is out for the rest of the season. Their third defensive end, Jake Cava, hurt his knee and is out for the rest of the season. So their depth is really being challenged, and they're playing younger players on that defensive line, redshirt freshmen, when that is typically not an NDSU thing at all. They want, third-year sophomores, juniors, and seniors in the trenches. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm interested. You mentioned Mark and being comfortable there. That was that spring season. Very limited fans, maybe even no fans. I don't remember for sure. We'll see.
There was some.
Yeah, but still, he had a great game.
Yeah, he did.
Yep. So,
also, too, circling back to something we talked about earlier, this is the game where those first down penalties really can't happen. You do not want to get behind the sticks in Fargo. And the last time that the Jacks played in a hostile environment, you could say Missouri State, but I'd really call it Iowa. And they're going to be in another one this weekend. So will they be able to clean that up? They've done a nice job of shoring it up at a couple on Saturday, but this is the week where you really want to hammer that down. And if North Dakota State's going to beat you, make them beat you. Don't make it easy on them with those 1st and 15, 2nd and 15s where you kind of get behind on offense.
Terry, I'm not going to name any weak points for NDSU. We don't need to get bulletin board material up there. We know that their fan board listens and the Bison report folks listen. So we're not going to give any bulletin board material there. But
I do think one thing that we saw in the Arizona game that was quite uncharacteristic for the Bison was the lack of discipline. You don't see that normally. You see him come on the strongest in the fourth quarter. I don't know that that's been where I guess in the USD game they did, but they haven't really pulled away from teams quite like they have in the past. So
Mhm.
it's an interesting dynamic up there this year compared to years past.
Yep.
So I like how we match up.
Yep. And two of the things that the Bison media have talked about and their fans have talked about is their team is not tackling well. And we saw that at the USD tape. I mean, we just saw how hard of a runner Tice is, so we shouldn't beg on him too bad about it. But he broke a ton of tackles. And Michael Tootsie,
That bodes well for number 22, doesn't it?
Yes. And Michael Tootsie, who's a very good safety for them, former SDSU commit and then flipped shortly before signing day, missed a lot of tackles on Tice and just bounced off him. So I like that. And the penalties, they've really talked about penalties this season. And we saw that in Brookings last year. That was the most undisciplined NDSU team I remember seeing in a Dakota Marker matchup. Lots of penalties, lots of stupid penalties. I think they probably get that cleaned up because that was a huge factor in last year's game was all the dumb penalties NDSU had in that one.
Even against Indiana State, they had the Sycamores had a run of close to 80 yards. They broke free, and it's kind of just undisciplined, weren't in their gaps. And that was not a game that was expected to be close. And Indiana State was in that ball game until the very end. And I wanted to quickly point out, too, and now this truly doesn't matter at this point because it's going to be 1 versus 2, and they're going to play on Saturday. But if you're comparing resumes just this season, South Dakota State should be number 1 right now, just based off their resume. Now, of course, it doesn't matter. They're going to play. The winner is going to be number 1. So this is how you want to decide it. But I think that's just an example of their history, or people give them the nod just because of who they are, which is fine. I get that. I think it should be a year-to-year basis. But right now, South Dakota State does have a better resume. So you can make the argument that the Jacks have looked better so far throughout this season.
Yeah, I agree. That NDSU, this is more – these are the tightest games I remember in Missouri Valley Conference for them to open a stretch. They've been tested every game. But you know what? They've come away winners. And so –
to that point, Matt,
every time.
I watched in the broadcast, Indiana State, they had a lead on North Dakota State, a lead for the first time in 10 years.
Yep. Yeah. Wild. Wild. Hey, one thing I do want to talk about with their linebackers, James Castor is a heck of a player. Really, really a good athlete. I think he started his career as a safety for them. And then they rotate middle linebackers with Kubitz and Wirtz, 2 very good players, each have 20-plus tackles. The one kind of wild card to watch this week is one of their star recruits from a few years ago, Cole Wisniewski out of Wisconsin. He got hurt in spring ball and had surgery, but he was looking at coming back sometime around this game, judging like the timeline of it. They haven't said anything. He hasn't been on the depth chart at all. But if he plays, he could be a difference maker. He's a big outside linebacker that can really run, former high school safety, really highly touted. So if he's back, that could be a positive for them in returning someone healthy. So that's just a name to watch for this week that might pop up on the depth chart or show up on Saturday actually during the game.
Speaking of the athletes you're naming off here for North Dakota State, I wanted to quickly bring this up. James Madison, a team who has been in the FCS for the longest time. They made the jump to FBS. They're ranked in the AP top 25 right now. If that does not give you an indication of how talented these teams truly are at the top of the FCS, then nothing will. I've been trying to sell my buddies back home in Ohio. Listen, guys, this football is legit. And that's a perfect example. These kids, for whatever reason, there's always going to be guys who filter through and you'll find hidden gems, and they come to these schools. And if you can play at this level, you can play. And I think that's a great example of what James Madison is doing at the FBS level, because they were just at this same tier that these two schools we're talking about were a year ago. So these kids, when you see them making plays and doing these things, they're truly high-level athletes.
And some big matchups. Tanner, you were talking about resumes, and Ron brought up Sac State and Weber. and they have both had phenomenal seasons too.
Yep.
We listed Sac State as someone that we would not want to play in the playoffs. We had Addison DeHaven from the Brookings, or formerly of the Brookings Register, on with us last week. Phenomenal writer. I think you guys would get along well. But he just doing some games with us. Who would we not want to play? I don't want to play Sac State. Their offense is filthy. Ron, is it next week that Sac State plays Montana and Weber plays Montana State, or some combination of that? That's a huge week for the Big Sky to get their mess sorted out schedule-wise.
And that'll separate the men from the boys in that. Or it'll show how good they all are. I mean,
right.
Potentially.
Right.
It might be one of those cases where, like the Valley every year, where we all beat up on each other.
Do you guys think this
Montana
is perhaps,
hasn't really played anyone yet? But sorry.
Very good. Do you think this is perhaps, well, time will tell, but do you think it could be a bit of an overall down year for the Valley?
That's been the general consensus, I would say. Whether or not that's true,
right?
I guess time will tell. It seems that SDSU and NDSU, as per normal, are kind of the class. We thought we really had something with Missouri State, but they haven't done well. Surprisingly, the Sock Lukis have been doing pretty amazing ever since that came out, and so they're maybe challenging. So they potentially could be in the runnings for winning the conference, depending on how things play out. I think the Bison and them play though, right, Matt?
Yep.
So we avoid them this year, but the Bison play them, and that's like outside of us, it's the only tough team the Bison have to play.
And UND, man, we don't know about UND.
Oh yeah, I forgot about UND. Yeah, UND's doing really well too, actually.
Yeah.
So potentially it's better than people are giving it credit for.
Yep. All right. So in 2 weeks, Weber plays Montana State, and that's the week Sac State plays Montana. So really an awesome 2 games there. If you're going to tune into something else, check them out. They'll be on ESPN Plus likely as well. So
yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Ron. And like he says, the Valley will get 4 teams. I think that's about where we'll end up. I don't think we're getting 6 this year, but
yeah,
the Big Sky might.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's get to predictions here. All right, you got predictions, Chad? You can pull it up. Well, Chad's pulling it up. Sorry, I got it, buddy. All right, so predictions presented by Culver's. So I did stop at Culver's yesterday in Watertown on my way home. What do you think I got, Tanner? What did I get?
You got a burger.
I did a double butter burger with cheese curds and a small mint Oreo cement mixer or concrete mixer.
Solid combo.
So I don't want to know how many calories were in that. I don't care. I was feeling good after the win, and I wanted to celebrate a little bit, and I was hungry, and it was delicious. So wherever you stop, if make sure it's at Culver's in Brookings or Watertown. Get your favorite concrete mixer, cement mixer, concrete mixer. Get it all mixed in. Get your favorite toppings, and then get your burger, the butter burger. And I prefer the cheese balls. Chad likes the onion rings. So, yeah. All right. So, offense. This feels like low-hanging fruit. I can't do this. I'm going with the 605 Hogs. They're going to dominate this one. Up front. It starts up front. 605 Hogs.
605 Hogs. I'm right there with you, man. I think that's where we shine this time.
Okay.
The guys have started to gel, and I look for a little more out of the right side yet, but I think we get that in this next game.
All right. Tanner, what do you think?
Are we going with score predictions here?
We will. But we will eventually. We're doing who we're predicting to be standouts on the offensive side of the ball right now.
I'm going to go with Hunter Dustman.
On offense?
Can I use him as my guy? Is that the kind of special teams? Okay. I'll get to him then in a little bit.
Okay.
I think he'll play a factor. Offensive wise against the Bison, I'm going to go with Zach Hines. Zach Hines, he had a great game against Missouri State, a career high, 127 yards and a touchdown. He will be used in this ball game. I like Zach Hines as my pick.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Defensively, Chad, I'll let you go first.
How do you bet against the field general in the middle of the field, dude? I mean, 32, Adam Bach, all the way. I think he gets a reputation for a reason, and he's going to play nasty, and I love it.
Okay.
Maybe we'll see a little
Yeah, there we
from
go.
him as well.
All right. I'm going with Reese. Reese for defense. Yep.
Okay.
Defense. Said that weird. Tanner, what about you?
Give me Isaiah Stallbird. Kid's a playmaker. He's back. He says he feels good on his knee. He's playing with the brace. He might have taken the brace off. I didn't notice. I'll have to look, but he was playing with the brace against Western Illinois. That kid, very versatile. He'll make some plays in this ball game. You will hear the name Isaiah Stallbird called in the broadcast.
Okay. All right. And then you're taking Hunter Dustman on specials?
Yes. He's going to have several important kicks dead center in this ball game.
Okay. Chad?
I'm going with our new place kicker, or place kickoff. I think Green. What's his name?
Jack Green?
Yeah, Jack Green's going to kick it into the end zone every time and not allow their traditionally return game.
All right. Who's I'm going with, I watched him on kickoffs because he was just on my sideline from where I was. Aiden Dodderman on
13.
kick coverage, 13. He's a lot of fun. Watch him play. He does a good job. So I'm going with Aiden Dodderman. I think he'll make some nice plays against NDSU's kickoff unit, or kick return. All right, and now it's time for score predictions. Does SDSU retain the rock? Tanner, we're going to let you go first.
All right. Well, I mean, this is the game of the year to this point in the FCS. Everything you could ask for, 1 versus 2, up in the dome, should be an absolute packed house. And, I'm not trying to create any bulletin board material here, but I'd expect the Jackrabbits to go into that ball game and be the better team from start to finish. Hunter Dustman, as I mentioned, he'll have to make a few field goals in the red zone. The Bison will hold. But overall, in that second half, 605 Hogs will break through. I like NDSU in this game to hang around. They'll compete. They're at their home. They'll show some pride. But give me the Jacks, 30, NDSU 17.
All right, Chad?
I'm going to say maybe a little bit closer. I like it as a 28-13 game. I think they play really well. They've got a bunch of great players, obviously.
That's not closer.
That's not closer at all, Chad.
That's a 15-point deficit. I only had 13.
Oh, yeah, well, sorry. Just because you go to school for engineering doesn't mean you can do math. No, wait. I'm sorry. No, I just don't think we score that many points, I guess is what I should have said. And, yeah. So. All
right. Tanner, when you were talking there and you threw out the first number 30, that's what I was going with for the Jacks. I think it's 30-20 Jackrabbits. 30-20. So I'm right there with you.
One possession game in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, Kurt. He did. I put it up right as you said it. So.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm pretty sure Mr. Lickus a couple years ago made some 605 Hog shirts, I believe.
I
was told that.
You mean like this one right here?
There you go. Yeah,
showing a little bit of wear.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Hey, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, Tanner, but they got a bus coming up from Brookings that's going up, and you can
kidding.
Yeah, they're doing a Retain the Rock tailgate, and I saw Thomas Dunn had put this on here. They were giving away a free tailgate package, which is right up there. The B team, we're going to be doing a podcast live from Buffalo Wild Wings, and then you get a free ticket into the game. Well, I mean, he won a free ticket. It's $150 for all that, so it's a heck of a deal. I know they're picking people up at Summit and in Watertown. It's $150. It's kind of a deal that can't be beat. Are you going to be up there?
I was supposed to go up there for the game, and I was looking forward to it for months, but I actually got nominated for an Emmy Award. So I'm going
legit, dude.
I did, thank you.
So way to bury the lead, Tanner. What the heck?
It's not about me. Not about
Glad
me.
I asked.
But I'm going up to Minneapolis, and for the ceremony on Saturday, and I actually thought about going to the game instead, but the fact that my mom's gonna fly out from Cleveland, I don't get to see her much, so
Oh man,
I'm gonna go up to Minneapolis. I will be watching the game, that's for darn sure, but I won't be in Fargo for that reason.
Tanner, that is so cool, dude.
Thank
Man,
you.
good
That
for
is
you.
very awesome. Well deserved.
Thank
Well
you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
You do an excellent job. We love your stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Tanner, was it a
Thank you.
specific story or?
Yeah, I applied for a couple of them, and the one I got nominated for, which I didn't know if I get nominated for anything, but I got nominated for a story I did on a kid. He went to Sioux Valley High School, nearly lost his leg, and he got surgery done, and all kinds of things happened in his life, and he turned out to be okay. His name is Hayden Rusink. He plays basketball now at Dakota Westland, I believe. And I got to meet his family and you got to talk to him. And what a cool kid. And he talked about his faith. And you don't hear that a lot from a kid at that age on camera. And that's what he told me got him through the situation. And I was happy to tell a story. And that's what I got nominated for an Emmy.
Wow. Hey, very cool, man. You're just blowing up in the chat here. People loving you up. So
thank you guys. Thank you.
No, Tanner, we love your work and all you do for the Jackrabbits. So
thank you guys. I really appreciate that.
And we appreciate you giving us your time for this too, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
I was driving back from my home farm today, and after talking to Kyle and Dallas, and they couldn't be here, and I texted Tanner right away after that, like, Tanner, want to be on the show with me and Chad? What'd you say? Like, no problem?
I said heck yeah.
Yeah. So
I'd love to come on. Yeah.
But yeah, just very cool. Congrats. Back to what Chad was talking about on the Retain the Rock. This is going to be something really cool. So if you are on the fence about going, this is the way to go. They'll pick you up in Brookings, Watertown, or Summit. So, it's an awesome deal, $150. B-dubs food included, ticket to the game included, a tailgate, BYOB on the bus. So it's a safe way to travel. Check it out.
That sounds very fun.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Like Rabbit points out, it's a heck of a bargain, really.
Yeah. So, all right.
If you're thinking about it, do it. There's a few spots left.
Yep.
We'd love to fill those buses.
Yep. Hey, just wanted to give one final shout out to our sponsors, Drake's, Cottonwood, Dakota Iron Equipment, Culver's, and then Shenanigans on the B Team Pod. Really appreciate all you do and that you believe in us to do it. So thank you. Thank you to all of you for being here. The engagement's been awesome tonight again. There's
Appreciate
been
those
60
comments.
to 70 people in this the whole time. So very cool. And thanks for subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting on everything we do.
Tell a friend. There's
tell
a
a
lot
friend.
of people that still don't know about Jackrabbit Illustrated. I was giving out stickers at our tailgate, and like our lot, and people are like, "What's Jackrabbit Illustrated?" I'm like, "Okay, well, here you go."
Yeah, still work to do. Work to do. Awesome. Tanner, anything coming up this week that people should look for from you?
Yeah, I will have a story coming out on Zach Hines and his family and things that I did not know about that I kind of found out through getting to know the team. It's pretty deep stuff, some pretty emotional stuff that him and his family have gone through. And I deeply appreciate them being willing to talk to me about it. So I'm going to actually, as soon as I get off this, I'm going to get working on it. And I hope to have the story out this week.
Awesome. Cool.
We expect that about midweek then?
Yeah, about midweek.
Wow,
Yes, sir.
You're right.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
You're not. Tuesday or Wednesday, yeah.
Jeez. All right. Well, cool. Chad, you guys are kicking up the takedown here pretty soon, right?
Yeah, we'll be going here not too long. Got to get together with the staff and pick a time that works, but we'll probably do a preview episode coming up here soon. So
awesome. And then for basketball, the Rabbit Rundown will be kicking off again here pretty soon. Those guys are excited, getting things lined up. So Jacob and Cody with that. So we have you covered on wrestling and basketball this winter as well. So, all right, with that, go big, go blue, go Jacks.
Go Jacks.